There is no theory in science that is better proven beyond reasonable doubt than the theory of evolution. And yet we have half of the population who is, well, somehow like this guy, right? This man there, creationist, I'm right, you're wrong, la la la, I can't hear you. And if they can't hear you at all, then guess how they react? They react like a dog whose favorite bone you're taking away. Like this, right? they get kind of aggressive, and I think you've all encountered dogs like this. You know, you just can't reason with them. You know, either you kick them or you walk away, and it's up to you what you want to do. So that gets me back to this article, Creationism, Would You and Adam Believe It? Is a very interesting quote that I'd like you to see. So after the Kansas and the Georgian school boards were trying to either outlaw evolution or at least strike the word evolution from the books, the Washington Post struck a Mencken-esque note by publishing this spoof memo from God to the Kansas Board of Education. I just love this. Thank you for your support, God says. Much obliged. Now go forth and multiply. Beget many children. And yeah, your children shall beget children. And their children shall beget children. And their children's children after them. And in time, the genes that made you such pinheads will be eliminated through natural selection. Because that's how it works. And I'll add a little final note. I normally teach this in the winter semester, between January and April. And that, of course, includes the month of February. And around February 12th, I have a special event. I show the slide. I take a little break. And I walk back into the room. I dim the lights. And I show the slide. And it says, Mary Darmison had a Christmas tree upside down. Does anyone have a clue what that date means? All right, there's 4 or 5 arms. February 12th happens to be Charles Darwin's birthday. The man who turned the biblical creation story upside down. And then I turn the lights off, and my 2 teaching assistants come in with a big birthday cake. And it says Mary Darmus there, written, and then I have a little dinosaur landscape, and you know, Noah's Ark is there, and the CD, which is for Charles Darwin. And then, you know, we all sing together like Charlie, right? Happy birthday, dear Charlie. You want to do this? Just for the heck of it. Let's do this. It's not February, but let's do this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Charlie. Happy birthday to you. And then we slaughter the cake. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Hans. We are getting into lunchtime, but that also means we have some flexibility. So if you're not aching for a sandwich yet, there's probably some generous time here for questions. Feel free to ask away. Are there going to be a whole bunch? Should we do lines or just hands up?
Just go ahead.
Okay.
Why do they take science classes?
Why an earth science class?
They don't normally. They don't. Let me turn the lights up here. They don't normally. As I mentioned, there is maybe 1 or 2 of them out of 100. And I mean, they don't come to my course to get converted, obviously, right? But they just, well, they don't know what's happening. They don't know what's coming at them. Yeah, but I get sort of on average, you know, 1 or 2 of these, and I only know the odd one speaks up to me, sends me emails, very scathing emails usually, and I get things like citations from this Creation Science Museum. Yeah, but what? And you know, the odd thing is they're not open to rational thought. You can tell them 10 times how radiometric dating of rocks work. They will still tell you, well, the Earth cannot be older than 4,000 years old, and it was all a miracle, and God just made poof and it worked. And you can't rationalize with these people. You just basically have to, you know, like the dog. When he starts snarling at you, just walk away and let him be alone. But seriously, there's a serious part to the point that I'm making. We don't have the general population in our classes. Right? What we get here in the university environment is a selection, a pre-selection of relatively bright, relatively enlightened people. And I don't have 40, 50% creationists. I have maybe only 1 or 2. And then I have a gray zone of maybe 20%, 15% of people who are not sure. And these are not stupid people. They're smart people. They just are shall we call it, they didn't get enough food for thought to rationalize what's really happening. And these are the people I can reach. These are the people I give enough information to them that they, after a little while, oh yeah, this is the way it works. These 1 or 2%, the hardcore creationists, they're hopeless. They're absolutely hopeless. I don't bother trying to reach them. But I can reach these 20% of people who are sitting on the fence. Sean, Mark.
Just kind of a comment. I think that the hardcore creationists, if anything, it's theology that should be used to teach them that the biblical creation story isn't literal, right? You're not going to convince them with science. Everybody else, yeah, sure. And just one thing for you and for everybody, if you go to that creation museum, they hand you a 500-page pamphlet that is a laugh riot. And you can instantly tell the kind of writing because half the words are either in all caps or bold or italicized or combinations thereof. Anyway, that's it. You check it out. It's brilliant. I got a T-shirt from it. It's got rainbows, dinosaurs, people, and Noah's Ark.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
That's pretty scary though, with our past knowledge, fun schools that actually teach us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's
Yeah.
You're making another interesting point, and I'm not sure how many of you guys have written or read, rather, Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion, a book that I would highly recommend. He's decried by the creationists as an inflammatory or a hardcore or militant, agnostic or atheist. But the man is, in my judgment, quite reasonable in even his choice of words. And he is using a word that is, yes, potentially inflammatory. He calls it child abuse.
Yeah.
When children, and I'm talking toddlers, that are just learning to speak and to think and to read and all that, when they're being indoctrinated with this crap. In my personal judgment, this is exactly what that is. It's child abuse. But, again, if you use language like this in the political arena, you're not going very far. And I'm not using terms like this in my classes either. In this forum, I'm happy to talk about this. But, you have to, this is the tightrope, the walk. I'm basically, I'm ridiculing the creationism movement, but I'm doing it in a rational form, in using arguments. I mean, anyone can do this back of the envelope calculation that I've done. And then just I leave them at that and say, think about it. And, I keep getting positive and positive and positive feedback, and then there's these 1 or 2 people who you just can't reach. And unfortunately, there's way more of them in the general population that I will never reach. But these 20% that I'm saying, that I'm telling you, that I get to move around, that we're sitting on the fence, they are the ones who have children. They are the ones who will not abuse their children intellectually when they grow up. I'm thinking of 2 generations ahead here. I'm not trying to convert everyone in my class. I'm trying to work through the generations. The same with global warming and all of that. The hardcore skeptics, as they're called, ironically, very much ironically, right? The hardcore skeptics, the naysayers, really, you can't reach them. But you can reach their children and the next generation. They will get fried. We'll be 6 feet under when Alberta is parched and there's no more glaciers to feed the rivers and all that. But all these naysayers, their children they will feel it big time. Or they grow wine and Yellowknife.
I actually have some stats that I think they may be a little bit more accurate, and I don't know how well it's done, but it said 51% of people in Alberta believe in evolution, which is about 10% above the most, the biggest state.
So it's even worse than I thought. Okay, send me that statistic if you have it.
It's from the
Stats Canada?
NCSE, that board in the States, the National
Haven't seen that particular one yet.
Yeah,
but-
it's about Britain, Canada, and the USA.
Yeah.
Overall, Canada was 61% in
Yeah.
favor of evolution. Britain was 68%, and the US was like
Yeah.
43 or 38 or something like that.
Yeah, there's this gray zone, where you're seeing this yellow bar in that chart where people were sort of full, maybe, maybe not.
Then they said 14%, I don't know of the total, or 14% of the people that believe evolution believe that God had nothing to do with it.
Mhm.
So even the people that accepting evolutions is like, there's a lot of people that still
Yeah.
think it's directed by God, right?
You know, it was about 2000, and I can't quite remember the year, but I think it was 2004 or so that the Pope finally acknowledged the reality of evolution. Even the Pope, like the previous one. And the popes are not exactly the most enlightened scientists that I know of. Even they now acknowledge, the Catholic Church doctrine has now officially acknowledged evolution.
Well, they have to evolve themselves to survive.
Good point. So anyway, you know, I'll be happy to, maybe you should break for lunch now. I'll be happy to field more questions. You can always contact me. I'm on campus and all that. So, but thanks for hanging in, and I hope you had some fun.